What's up, zoners? Experts are always telling you, man, to take a top-tier quarterback or wait until the very end. Well, that is not always the case, dude. Right now, I'm looking at a top 6 quarterback going right now. He did not score 20-plus fantasy points in 25% of his games, for God's sakes, dude. Brock Purdy had a terrible year last year, and he scored 20-plus fantasy points in like half of his games, man. So there's value right there. We will not be going over him today. We got 3 values, 3 avoids. We're going to be going over the top 32 quarterbacks in order of how they are going in drafts right now. Compare it, dude, to how they finished last year. And then we're going to find the values where we want to target some fools, some late quarterbacks, dude. This one quarterback I'm going to talk about was quarterback 6 in from week 13 on. And he's going as a quarterback 3 right now, for God's sakes, dude. So huge show today. You're going to find out where you want your quarterback, but you got to hold on for the best 7 seconds of your life. All right, you are looking at a graph that I just threw together for this show. All right, the first column are the quarterbacks going in order of how they're going this season, man. Just go to ESPN Live ADP and check to see where they are going. Get an idea of value just on that, man. So that's the second column is their ADP right now. Third column, how they finished last season. Is this shit lining up, man? Is this making sense? For God's sakes, we'll look over that. So his value, the first column minus the second column. So he's going as quarterback 1, finishes quarterback 2. That is a value score of -1. Lamar Jackson, for God's sakes, dude, he was going number 1 last week, but that switched up. So now he is going number 2. He was the number 1 quarterback last year, and so he has a value of 1. And so if you hit -5 or fewer, or 5+, I am highlighting you in green or red, okay? And then 8, if a quarterback's name is highlighted in yellow, that means he is on a different squad, man, different team, different goals, different fantasy values, dude. So Aaron Rodgers, Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, Justin Fields right there. And then, hey, dude, just look at the highlighted middle thing. This is a finish in 2024. So Justin Fields was quarterback 6, right? In points per game when he was a starter. That's where I'm getting this points. That's why I'm highlighting in yellow. So it's not just points per game because he did not start a lot of those games. So quarterback 6, dude, that's a huge value right there. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But Dak Prescott, man, Drake May, and you can just see, man, by all these highlights, these guys were injured, man, missed a lot of times, 4+ games, okay? So a third of the league, dude, last year, as far as quarterbacks goes, lost a lot of time, missed a lot of time, I should say. So 2 quarterback league is what we're trying to get right now. We want to draft 2 quarterbacks, 1 in the middle, 1 later, 1 early, 1 super late, something like that. But first up, man, we're going to be talking about the avoids, okay? So let's go over the negative first, and then we will hit the positive. My first avoid, sitting right here, going as quarterback 6. This full through 50 touchdowns for me in one season. When I drafted him, his first year as a starter, I think I won a championship that year. And now I'm going to hate. So let's go over here. So Patrick Mahomes, man, 20+ fantasy points in only 4 of his 16 games last season. That's 25%. So his ceiling was kind of garbage, dude. 15 fantasy points. The first 2 games of last season with a healthy Rashee Rice before his knees got fucking assassinated by the man himself, Patrick Mahomes, for God's sakes, dude. He's out here trying to afford plastic surgery for his wife. He's got to be taking out knees left and right for those bookies, okay? And also, dude, Xavier Worthy was awesome down the stretch. So with a healthy Rashee Rice kicking ass, dude, he only scored 15 fantasy points the first 2 games. Because everybody's like, oh, dude, with Rashee Rice back and this and that. I'm like, yeah, I get it, dude. But the way they have played football since Tyreek Hill left does not mean a lot of fantasy points for the quarterback. And then if you want to just talk about metrics, man, like completion percentage over expectation, he was -1.7%. That is the worst out of the top 20 quarterbacks being drafted this year. Everybody else is in the positives, especially in that top tier. It's like +6%, dude, like Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. And then you get to Patrick Mahomes, you're like, what the fuck's going on here, dude? And then you're like, well, what about his rushing? He's had 2 total rushing touchdowns over the last 2 seasons, man. So he's averaging 1 rushing touchdown a season and 3.6 rushing attempts per game. So that does not hit the 5 that I really want for my quarterback. So, dude, no rushing, terrible other metrics as far as accuracy. He's missing a lot of easy throws and shit like that. And the system is not designed for him right now to score a bunch of points. So some other stuff, 15th most pass attempts over 20 yards at 54. That's only 1 more than Bryce Young, and Bryce Young didn't start for like a month, dude. So this is a very conservative offense. He did have the 3rd most pass attempts in the NFL last year at 581. But again, dude, Patrick Mahomes, man, the ceiling is just not where it needs to be a top tier quarterback. All right. Next up, let's go down to the next one, which is going to be I went to the wrong one. Dak Prescott. All right. This guy went down like 2 slots over the last week. He was going like number 12 overall when I made this graph the first time, and I had to go check. I'm like, okay, things are evening out. Thank God, man. People were freaking out over that George Pickens trade. But again, man, ADP 14, so almost a quarterback 1 for you right now. And he had a quarterback 20 finish in his like 8 healthy games that he played last season in the offense with the offensive coordinator that he killed it. It was like the top 2 quarterback that 1 year. So now he's got a whole new offensive coordinator. All right. That's in somebody I've never fucking heard of. Clayton Adams is the new offensive coordinator. He was the O-line coach for the Cardinals the last 2 seasons. Arizona line had the 5th highest pass block efficiency last year. So I do like that. Maybe he will try to get Dak Prescott upright more often. Cards were top 10 in rushing touchdowns. So when they get in the red zone, they don't like to throw the ball a lot. They like to run the ball. But they did not have, I'd say they didn't have CeeDee Lamb, man, but they had Trey McBride and fucking Marvin Harrison Jr. So those are 2 awesome weapons as well. So look for them to continue to run the ball in the red zone with Dak Prescott there. And you're like, hell, dude, doesn't Dak Prescott run the ball? He's built like it. No, dude, this motherfucker, 1.6 rushing attempts per game, fewer than Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford. Old white dudes. So there you go there. Dallas, their offensive line ranked 25th last year. And so now we have this offensive line coach coming in to be the offensive line coordinator. I would imagine they're going to be top 20 this season. And then do Dak Prescott when he was healthy, man. Quarterback 20, scoring 15.6 fantasy points per game, dude. I need my quarterback to be like 18, 19, 20 points per game. That's what I need my starting quarterback to be. And this fool was at 15.6. So no rushing, new offensive coordinator. All right. That's going to run the ball more. That sucks. And then Pickens is there. That's why people were fucking freaking out, right? He has not surpassed 5 receiving touchdowns in any of his first 3 seasons. Mike Tomlin wanted to get rid of him. He's got a new head coach who's going to try to walk all over. All right. He needs like an established head coach. I don't know how this is going to go, dude. It could blow up big. Dak Prescott, man. I mean, I would take him as my second quarterback, but I need him late, dude. And right now he's going next to people that I would never choose over him. So right now, yeah, borderline top quarterback 1 ain't happening. I'm avoiding Dak Prescott. Then lastly, dude, I know this guy is ranked super low, but this is just nuts. And people keep on talking about him on the radio. And then I just keep on hearing more shit. I wanted Jalen Milroe. I was like, dude, Jalen Milroe is going to be a thing. We're going to go all the way down here to Sam Darnold. He's going 31st. So people are not getting him as a top 2 quarterbacks, but I just want to hit it up because he was fucking quarterback 9 last year, dude. Quarterback 9. Now he's on a new team. So he's got an amazing value. Look at this value, like 22 points. That's the highest here. So I just had to hit it a little bit. But I'm going to make him an avoid because he's not a fucking value. So don't be fooled by that number. Clint Kubiak is a new offensive coordinator. Worked with Kirk Cousins' prime years in Minnesota. Brock Purdy's prime years in San Fran. And hey, that is all from the Shanahan system. And then Kevin O'Connell was from the Shanahan tree as well. So there's potential for this to work, right? Well, he spent the second most time in the pocket before throwing at 2.6 seconds. This fool needs a lot of time to throw the ball. Seattle had the second worst PFFO line last year, giving up 233 pressures and the second most sacks in the NFL. You remember the see and go Sam Darnold? Yeah. So we got a defensive line. We got a defensive head coach we have a defensive head coach. They never fix their fucking offensive lines, dude. They never do. Look at Mike Tomlin, for God's sakes, man. It will never happen. Last year, they were the second worst. Gave up the second most sacks. It's going to happen again. Sam Darnold's going to fall apart. DK and Lockett are gone. Also, they got old ass Cooper Kupp. He better catch a fucking 100 balls. I like JSN a lot more. It's all going to be nothing deep, super shallow, no time to throw when he's used to time to throw. Okay. So I'm just not liking Sam Darnold at all. And it's making me nervous about fucking JSN because I've been pushing JSN. So I need to see how this goes, dude. But Jalen Milroe, maybe midseason pickup. Oh, shit. I'm more about that. All right. All right, man. On to the targets. 3 targets that we're going to talk about. Top target for me, I spoke about him multiple times. Justin Fields. It's funny, man. Caleb Williams just hopped up like 2 spots as well. I was going to have him as an avoid. I want to as well, but these other 3 players I felt a little bit more comfortable with just because they did so much, man. Offensive line and weapons and offensive coordinator. If Caleb Williams popped and was a top 10 quarterback, that is in the realm of possibility. So I did not talk about him. But my first target, man, Justin Fields. He was quarterback 6 in like the 6 games that he started last year, like 5 rushing touchdowns. Like the 5th most rushing attempts per game by any quarterback. And that's what we're chasing here, dude. We're just chasing rushing attempts. When you look at rushing attempts per game, that's what you want. And he is in the upper tier of that. He's not like 8.0, which is the top tier, but he's in that 6.0. So right under the top tier. Yeah, quarterback 6, dude, 1 through 6. And he scored 19.1 fantasy points per game, almost 1 more fantasy points per game than Josh Allen. This is this guy's upside. Justin Fields, okay? Very Josh Allen-like, man. Just get the fucking ton of rushing touchdowns, a ton of rushing attempts per game, and that occasional big play. 4th most rushing attempts per game at 6.2. Again, I just said that. Pittsburgh PFF, they had the 27th best offensive line. So he did all that. Quarterback number 6, right? With the terrible offensive line that Pittsburgh was throwing out last year with a ton of injuries. Dude, the Jets had the 17th best offensive line last year, and their best O-lineman was John Simpson, and he is returning. Now, Tyron Smith did retire. Morgan Moses went to the Pats. But again, man, Justin Fields proved that he could do this with a shitty offensive line. And Garrett Wilson is there. We got Breece Hall, and a bunch of those running backs catch a ton of passes over there. So I'm feeling very comfortable, man, with Justin Fields being a top 10 quarterback for me with a ton of rushing upside, dude. So Justin Fields, my first big target. And then we're going to go super late for my next target. But hey, man, Michael Penix Jr. He's going as a low-end quarterback 2 right now. Quarterback 24 overall. In the 3 games that he played, he was quarterback 17. That is a value score of 7, which is great. Let's see. He had the higher passes. He had the highest passer rating of passes 20-plus yards last year with 98.2 passer grade. 1 touchdown and 0 interceptions. That was very small. But the thing that stands out to me was that was his strength in college. So downfield passing, and when you're not going to run the ball a lot, is very important to me. So if you're not going to pass the ball, I need explosive plays, dog. And this is what this guy is supplying right now. Like Brock Purdy throws the ball down the field a lot. He has like the second highest yards per attempt. I think Lamar Jackson might have been number 1 last year. This guy is going to be in that category. So upper tier of yards per attempt. Drake London, Darnell Mooney, they've got the weapons there. Quarterback 9, averaging 19.1 fantasy points per game in week 17 and 18. So again, another quarterback averaging 19.1 fantasy points per game as his ceiling. That is Justin Fields as well. And that was his rookie season. So only 2 games. And you can say, oh, there's tape on him, man. There's not enough tape for that sophomore slump to really develop. And then let's see, only 2.3 rushing attempts per game, but he did have 1 rushing touchdown. I think that is important. So offensive coordinator likes to run him around the end zone at red zone. You can expect some touchdowns around the red zone. Atlanta, man, they had the 11th best offensive line this last year. They did lose that Dahlman to go help out in Chicago. Their center, which is terrible. But Lindstrom, dude, is still the best offensive lineman. I think he's 27 years old, and he is returning. So they still have the framework for an amazing offensive line. Michael Penix throwing the ball deep. Drake London, everything else, man, where he is going, the upside is amazing. I'm taking the value. I want Michael Penix as my second quarterback. Getting Justin Fields maybe in the middle rounds, then Penix super fucking late is very interesting to me. I think Justin Fields is not even going middle. I think he's actually going pretty late. And then here's another super late quarterback. Again, I just talked about him a little bit. But Bryce Young, man, he was quarterback 12 in points per game last season once he took over the starting job. Because remember, he got benched, man. I think he was crying. He got sacked, made some crazy, terrible body language. He got benched for Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton came in, lit it up for like 3 weeks, and then took a fat shit. And then then Bryce Young had to come back, and he was amazing when he came back. All right, he was, like I said, quarterback, whatever it was, quarterback 12. But then the important thing was he got better and better and better. He was quarterback 6, dude, from week 13 on, averaging 21.9 fantasy points per game. That is amazing, dude. Like, if that's top tier shit, 21.9 fantasy points per game. Holy shit. Dave Canales was his coach, dude. Dave Canales made Geno Smith one of the, like a top 5 quarterback, and Baker Mayfield like a top 5 quarterback. And it took a year for this to happen, man. But Bryce Young might be on that same trajectory. 3rd highest passer grade under pressure while also throwing 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So this guy could not mentally handle NFL defenses, came back and had the 3rd highest passer grade under pressure. So what the fuck, dude, are we doing here? Carolina PFF the eighth best offensive line ranking last year. Dude, they've had one of the better offensive lines for like 3 or 4 years now. That is going to keep on going, especially with Dave Canales over there. So, because the offensive head coach knows how to fix that offensive line. Oh my God, dude, Bryce Young, if you can get him late, is so worth rolling the dice on. He's my third target. Again, he's going to be my second quarterback. So, Justin Fields, quarterback 1. And then we have Michael Penix Jr. You want that as your second quarterback, and you want Bryce Young as your second quarterback as well. And then just a couple more values, man. What do we got? Tua Tagovailoa, amazing value, dude. This guy gets he had like a stretch of like 5 games in the middle of the year last year of 20 plus fantasy points. And that motherfucker, if he gets injured, he might be done. So that's why he has to be a second quarterback, and he's even fallen outside of that. So Tua Tagovailoa only because of the injury. Dude, Trevor Lawrence, he's got Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter this year, and the offensive coordinator for Baker Mayfield last year. He is, if you want to fight for him, that was great. But I hate seeing stats of Brian Thomas Jr. was terrible without him and amazing. Was terrible with him and amazing without him. But again, that's what rookie wide receivers do. They usually hit in the second half of the year. Aaron Rodgers, man, I've been telling people he's been an amazing value on Best Ball for the last month because I thought he was going to go to Pittsburgh, and now it's the case. He will be rising up these rankings as people draft more. Geno Smith, whole new system, whole new everything. They want to run the fucking ball with Pete Carroll. I would think that he's a waiver wire person. Anthony Richardson, we're not playing that game, homie. And yeah, again, we already went over Sam Darnold. All right, everybody, that is the show. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I earned a thumbs up. Hopefully I earned a subscription, man. I'm out here on my knees, dude. Red light district. I got a red light over my head, man. I'm begging for your subscription, dude. We're trying to get more. We won't do that unless you do that. And again, man, if you like this show, it will push us out to more eyeballs, and then we might even get more likes, dude. So just giving us that helps a lot too. This is Tyler Big Turd Ward. This is a Fantasy Red Zone. We got a live show on Friday. I forget what we're doing, but it will be fun. We're drinking live questions and shit.